The following video will feature discussions of racism and police brutality as they relate to Pink Siifu's 2020 second full-length album. The views expressed herein are personal opinions and may not reflect your own. If these topics are too heavy for you to have at the top of your mind right now, please bear this warning in mind before proceeding. Thank you. The rapper, producer and unique sound artist professionally known as Pink Siifu has been defying borders, genres and preconceived notions for about as long as he has been making music. Born Livingston Matthews in Birmingham, Alabama, the subject of this video makes music that sounds absolutely nothing like what one would expect an Alabama-born rapper to make. He was raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, but he certainly doesn't resemble Kid Cudi or Trippie Redd. He is currently based out of Baltimore and has many linkages to both the current LA and New York underground rap scenes. But no matter how wide a net you cast, you will never find another musical artist quite like Pink Siifu. In this video, we are going to be focusing on one of literally dozens of releases Siifu has dropped under various aliases. This is an album beginning with the word N, and it was released on April 8, 2020. While this is a channel which currently focuses primarily on hip-hop music in the mostly traditional imagining, it's about as far from hip-hop as a rapper could get, without completely losing touch of some of those basic mechanics. As the title of the video suggests, it's some kind of a noise rap album, and perhaps the most devastatingly harsh one which has ever been released. The moment you press play on this album, you are met with screeching, unidentifiable tones. Black is a God, a ghetto sci-fi tribute, is a dedication to the late producer Ras G, a legendary artist with affiliations to Flying Lotus's Brain Feeder label. Ras G is one of the musicians Siifu befriended during his time in LA and ended up getting into a lot of free and spiritual jazz music through G's beats and live shows. Hence, Black is God is a full-on free jazz freakout for nearly 2 visceral minutes. If that's not enough to warn you that you are not about to listen to a traditional hip-hop album, the next few tracks should certainly do the trick. The next song, SMD, is the album's first song which has some lyrical content to it. It opens up with a familiar sample from the 1973 film The Spook Who Sat by the Door. This sample was also used on No Name's 2018 song Blaxploitation. The themes are similar, an anti-racist message expressing a desire to repress the status quo. Whereas No Name expresses her rage through melody and wordplay, Pink Siifu takes the opposite approach on SMD. This song sounds like a bootleg recording of Bad Brains in 1980. The guitars and drums are mixed quietly enough to sound more like suggestions than an actual backing beat. All the while, Siifu takes lyrical aim at his oppressors. White man trying to take my, landlord trying to take my, tell the police he can eat a. SMD is the album's mission statement following the tone setter of the intro song, and it promises that the next 35 minutes will be full of pure, unfiltered rage. The next track, FK, meets this aesthetic head-on during its first half. The guitars are a bit more pronounced on this one, but it still sounds like a demo or perhaps a sweaty gig at a VFW hall. Then it collapses into a lo-fi hip-hop song, showing one of the few moments of respite from the noise and oral aggression on display. Further down the tracklist, we get more excursions into experimental jazz and sound collage territory, with the America Try No Pork interlude being particularly affecting. This track is a 2-minute collection of various new segments, all about fatal encounters black people have with the police in America. While these discussions have been going on for ages in communities of color and liberatory groups, it's worth noting that this album was released less than 2 months before the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, which shone yet another spotlight on the pertinence of this issue. The album takes turn into revenge fantasy with subsequent tracks Run Pig Run, Dead Meat and Chris Dorner, all of which feature some variation on the mythos of the heroic cop killer. I know that the topic of Chris Dorner is a controversial one, so let us keep it factual here in stating that for those who don't know that name, Dorner was a former US Naval reservist turned aspiring LAPD officer. After claiming to witness an instance of excessive force against a mentally ill person during one of his first calls post-academy, Dorner was ruled to have been lying in his report and was fired. Professing his innocence in witnessing and reporting this brutality, he ended up waging revenge on the LAPD, spending several days in February 2013 murdering and wounding as many police officers as possible, as well as the daughter of the attorney he claims misrepresented him. He eventually died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound before the cabin in which he barricaded himself was razed to the ground by the LAPD, who had spent the preceding few days firing shots at random citizens in search of Dorner, though none of their description seems to match his at all. Whenever a person commits acts such as these, they will undoubtedly be upheld with some form of extended martyrdom, whatever you wish to say about Dorner's acts. Pink Siifu has himself been the victim of police brutality, having been cuffed and followed by a black officer in New York one late night when he skipped the subway fare. He was so horrified that he was treated more poorly by the black officers than the white officer also present on the scene that he wrote and recorded Dead Meat the next day, a song which directly references King Chris. The track Baby's Kids, Apollo, features a verse from Moormother, a previous subject on this channel. If there is any artist whose typical sound aligns most with the Siifu's on this album, it's Moormother, who is no stranger to the fusion of poetic spoken word and lo-fi industrial drones, which is exactly what she serves here. Similarly, the OGM, one half of the New Jersey-based noise rap group self-titled Horror, makes a brief appearance on the track Faceless Wings Black. The punk demo energy carries on with On Fire Pray, which directly lifts the Black Flag bass riff from the classic song Rise Above, before slowing down for a more meditative passage. Truthfully, the album does not let up at all until the very last song, Black Be the God, Wisdom Cipher, which was the first single from the album. Given that this song is a sample-based hip-hop verse and much more in line with what one might expect from Pink Siifu from his previous work, I can understand why this album probably confused many people who tried it out. Black Be the God does not represent the album sonically, but it does represent it thematically. His full second-length album is one that takes many of the preconceived notions of what noise rap can be and basically says that's cute and all, but check this out. It's a brittle, intense and occasionally horrifying and always poignant piece. Regardless of what you might think of its moral conclusions, it's an album for a moment that never seems to end, the moment of a snapped psyche, the moment where a person can no longer take more. This is not music for edgelords, hardcore kids or even rap fans. It's an album for the people, in quote marks. A musical manifestation of rage that takes all that is whack, racist and vile and throws it into a volcano, never again to see the light of day, or at least that's the hope. Thank you for watching.